Today, I'm going to give you a tip on how to get a house for cheap. A lot of people are considering building or buying, but building and buying now in the current Kenyan times is quite expensive. For a simple bungalow, people are coughing up not less than 7.5 million for a simple house out there in the bush. But there are also a hack where you can be able to get a house. I say buy a house, not a new house, and you're going to probably get it in a good location and without having to buy all this money. Gigi and other online platforms are one of the ways of getting a house. Even Facebook Marketplace, you can be able to get a house. What kind of houses are we looking into? Let us go to their search engine. You go and get property, houses and apartments in Kenya, and say you're buying a personal home. You come and click bungalow. If you look at this list, you're able to see quite a number of houses that you can be able to buy for cheap. This is probably houses where the owners, probably their wives or their spouses, decided this is a little bit too far, like Joska, Wangatarongai, or maybe they used to live in this house and somebody somehow they got a little bit more money and they wanted to upgrade, or they were moving out of the country because hey, every Kenyan is moving out of the country because things are not working. And it could also be that the bank simply want to get it money because somebody took a loan to be able to build a house, and now there's just not enough money to pay for the bank payments every single month. And to get out of it, some of them would rather sell, offset, and be debt free. Or some could even move out of the city or in another place because of work. There's many situations that come, but there's a challenge. Most Kenyans don't buy second-hand homes. Most Kenyans want to buy a new home. Most Kenyans want to build. So there's a gap in the market where you can be able to get a house for slightly cheaper than you can. I was looking at new house prices in Ongatanongai and you could see they could go from least, especially when it's bungalow with its own land. The least that you could get was 10 million and above. But if you look at here, you'll be able to see that there's a three-bedroom bungalow in Ogatarungai for 4.5 million. Let us look at some of these properties a little bit keenly. For that 4.5 million house, you're able to get a three-bedroom bungalow. Look, it even has mature trees and some shrubs, and it has a live fence, has a nice gate, has a few neighbors. It is a developed area. For 4.5 million, and still fine. The kitchen is not the most practical. In fact, it's a little bit old. So if you buy for 4.5 million, then keep a million for restoration and bring it to the standards that you want. You'll be able to get a house for 5.5 million in a nice area in Ungatarungai with all the amenities available without breaking the bank. If you were to get such a house or build such a house in the current financial times, because remember, probably this house was built when cement was 550. What is the price of cement now? So everything has gone up. So for you to build the same exact house, you're going to be paying a lot more. And because Kenyans don't buy second-hand homes, they are going to be less expensive. Kenyans do not value something that somebody else has already built because they say, oh, it's not my taste. So there is no fix up culture in Kenya. But you could buy and fix it up and be able to use it. So this house has everything. Fine, it is ugly to look at because of the colors, but if you look beyond the colors, you have a house that is probably solid, a house that is functional, and a house that is in the right location at the price that you want. All these cosmetic things are things you can be able to change to make it beautiful. Fine, the design is fixed to some point, but you can also make it your own home and beautify it to the way that you want. A lot of things you would change. That is why you have 1 million to be able to renew the house and bring it to the standard that you want. The other beauty about the Gigi marketplace, it also caters for a certain segment of people who are not only look for a big personal home, but are also looking for an investment that could be able to enable them to do certain things. For example, this mini flat in Kenyatta Road, near Thika. Kenyatta Road is two-bedroom flats, two of them and two separate one units. So it is a house that you can buy for 5.5 million and could enable you to essentially have an investment property and still live there. So you are buying a home where you live, but you also have people that you are renting for 5.5, 5.9 million. Fine, you would need to build additional units so that everything would fit in. But for 8 million, you have more than your own personal home. You have an investment that you are able to get money from. Think about a retiring person. You have 8 million that you have been given on retirement. What do? You buy such a flat, you have a place where you live, you have neighbors who you interact with, and you have a source of income for 8 million. Meaning that you buy for 5.5 million, you finish the construction of the house, and you're able to get money. Probably the person who was living here, probably they were building and then certain life things changed. For example, maybe they moved out of the country, or maybe their spouse died and they cannot finish the construction, or maybe they felt they need to move to a certain country because probably, or a certain location because probably they have land, they are farmers, and this following up with clients is not something they want to do, because remember, sometimes clients don't pay as much. But you have essentially two-bedroom units that you can live in one, rent another, and you have two other one bed sitter units which you can rent out. So essentially for 5.9 million, without continuing any more construction, you have your own personal home, two-bedroom small flat, and you have another one that you are charging, and two other bed sitters or one bedroom units that you can be able to rent out. And you, for 5.9 million, you have free rent, and you're collecting probably 30, 40,000 shillings every month. Where do you get such a deal? You get such a deal by looking at these things. It's probably not the most beautiful thing to look at. It is probably out there far away from Nairobi. But these are some of the hacks that you are probably going to get when you live in these places. Look at another simple house in Juja, Darasha. This house is 3.4 million. This house is slightly newer than the ones that I showed you. And it is a house that is in its own plot. It has a fence, a walled fence. It has razor wire. You can be able to put some solar panels. And essentially, it is move-in ready at a fraction of the cost. Try to build a house now. You'll probably spend 5 million shillings, and you'll probably not be able to do the wall fence around. You just need to change a few things and you have a beautiful home. These are some of the hacks that you can be able to do by buying. Say you say that these places are a little bit far. You can be able to get a house now in Gigi, in Maji Mazuri in Kasarani, very short distance from the city. Fine, it is an ugly house, but for 5 million, you have a house and you have a shop on the end. And because that area is well populated, this shop can also act as a separate source of income. So think about your parents who you want them to retire, don't want them to go to the village because they're used to living in the city, but you also want them to be able to have some source of income. They have a house, a little shop that they can be able to set up something. It is a developed area where they have a lot of sales because there's a lot of big buildings around, and they can be able to, you can be close to you, near your family, where you can be looking after them. So these are some of the hacks you can get if you remove the notion that most Kenyans have, that it must be a new house, it must be your own build, and it must have your own character. If you remove all these things and you be a little bit more flexible on your mind, you can be able to get deals of owning homes and investment properties for much cheaper. If you are an investor, you are also not lost. There are some things you can do. You can come and change the parameters here and say you want mini flats, maybe a small flat that somebody is building, but they no longer want to be in real estate. Maybe they are moving out of the country. Maybe it is a widow who doesn't want to continue hustling with people paying rents and things like that. You could also be able to find such plots that are sold as investment properties, and because they may not be in the right condition, you buy, you renovate, you add the prices, and you get more money. Some of these things are going for much cheaper, but what are Kenyans doing? They want their own place, they want to buy their own land, they want to build a lot of things. Another thing that would make you want to do these things, that a lot of people will not tell you: properties that are already built up are probably going to have less legal issues. There are going to be less conmen in such properties. The biggest challenge that you might have is if there's a lien on a property because somebody took a loan, cannot be able to pay, and wants to sell off and run away. And so the ownership is still partially restricted by the bank. This is where you have to do things a legal way. So here, if you're going to buy these properties, You have to engage somebody who is going to look at the quality, because Kenyan construction sometimes is wanting. So somebody who can be able to do construction in the right way. So to come and check that everything is standard and the house will not fall apart. You need a lawyer to be able to check that the legal documents are in line and everything is at par, because you do not want to buy a property that is probably an inheritance property where 10 people are claiming the same property and you have bought it and now you are in a mess. You don't want to buy a property which has a lien from the bank. You don't, so you want to avoid the legal issues. You have to have a lawyer in these properties, and you have to have somebody to check the quality. But by and large, it is probably going to be a lot more less messy in terms of legality of that land, as opposed to new properties, as opposed to new construction, as opposed to new developments, as opposed to the subdivisions of land. I'm here to share tips that can be able to help you. Already, I'm thinking about something I could also buy just from looking at this. I mean, we are only limited by our own capacity to be creative. This is one creative way to own property at lesser value, and with hacks like the mini apartments, have your own place where you live and are still correctly rent without having to have a lot of millions in the bank. My name is George. Like, subscribe, share. I share tips on how you can be able to create wealth and become better. Thank you and enjoy your day.